Spirituality and rationality are often seen as diametrically opposed pursuits. To be rational is to give up on our superstitious religious notions, while to be spiritual is to suspend our disbelief and embrace the mysteries beyond our ken. I started this channel and the Skeptical Spirituality publication on Medium to promote a different perspective, that rationality and skepticism are fully compatible with spirituality. Often what I have to say has followed the trajectory of my own journey as a skeptical person seeking a spiritual path. It is and will continue to be an attempt to address spiritual topics from a rational and skeptical perspective. But in this video, I want to turn this on its head. Instead of writing about the rationality of spirituality or exploring spiritual topics from a skeptical standpoint, I want to write about the spirituality of being rational and explore skepticism through the lens of spirituality. I began to develop this line of thought in the one method to reveal spiritual truth common to all religions. So if you find the idea interesting, please consider watching that video as well. The thesis. Reason can be more than a tool used to achieve certain ends. It can be a way of living. Being spiritual calls on us to be more, not less rational. Being a more rational person leads to spiritual growth. Spiritual practices have the potential to make you a more rational person. Objectivity and the science of life. To be rational is to base your words and actions on clear thought and reason. It is about doing things based on logically sound reasons rather than emotions or beliefs unsupported by evidence. It is often said that doing this requires objectivity. When thinking about any given object, being objective means that we only consider things that belong to the object itself. Its opposite is subjectivity, in which our own preconceived notions, prejudices, and superstitions are allowed to color the way we look at things. Objectivity, therefore, is about taking yourself, as the subject of knowledge, out of the picture. Science has made great use of objectivity when considering isolated physical systems. The scientific method harnesses repeatability to ensure this objectivity. Experiments must yield the same results, regardless of who performs them. New ideas must be based on the results of such experiments. All inferences must be based on universal rules of logic. What if the object of your study is not an atom, or a tree, or a star? What if it is your own life? To be a rational person, not simply to use rationality to attain a specific technical goal, but to actually live rationally, requires the application of some form of objective methodology to life itself. The transcendent perspective. The scientific methodology creates objective knowledge by placing the scientist outside of the object of study. Everything coming from or relating to the scientists themselves is removed, so that the same picture emerges regardless of who is viewing it. In doing this, the scientist takes a transcendent perspective of the object being studied, a perspective from outside of the system. In life, this transcendent and universal perspective is pursued through religion and spirituality. From Christianity to Buddhism, Hinduism to Islam, across the religions of the world, the divine is conceived as transcendent and universal. To be rational and objective in this life therefore requires you to take the transcendent perspective of the divine. It is by necessity a spiritual endeavor. Selflessness. Perceiving and understanding the world and your own existence as they truly are requires, in some way at least, taking yourself out of the picture. The transcendent perspective is not the perspective of self, it's the view from above. The first requirement of any objective understanding of existence is therefore some form of selflessness. This may take the form of denying the ultimate existence of self, as is common in Eastern religions, through devotion to others, through the mortification of self promoted in Christianity, through some form of mystical absorption into the universal, or through adherence to moral codes. Interestingly, this seems to open a path towards the formulation of a naturalized morality that does not depend on any externally imposed definitions of right and wrong. That which is selfish or promotes selfishness is immoral, and that which is selfless or promotes selflessness is moral. Immorality then becomes simply the path away from truth, while morality is the path towards truth. Right is correct. Wrong is incorrect. Nothing more. If there are any moral philosophers out there, it would be great to hear from you in the comments below. Non-attachment and meaning. Non-attachment is most closely associated with Eastern religious traditions such as Buddhism, where it is arguably most explicitly defined as a goal of spiritual practice. However, all religious traditions involve some form of exhortation to let go of material desires and attachments. As a proponent of the perennial philosophy, I am of the opinion that when all religions speak with one voice, it is advisable to listen. Attachments are what drive subjectivity, rendering us irrational in the way we perceive and relate to the world around us. Meaning refers to how things relate to each other. A thing's meaning is an explanation of how it relates to other things. Attachments are vortices of meaning, pulling our perceptions of the world around us to coalesce around them. When you are strongly attached to gaining a promotion at work, you perceive the meaning of events at your workplace in terms of how they relate to your position and chances of promotion, rather than how they relate to any broader context. When you are attached to affiliation with a particular political group, you view world events in terms of how they relate to goals and preoccupations of that specific ideology. In either case, you insert an aspect of yourself into what you are perceiving, hindering your ability to objectively perceive it as it truly is, in and of itself. Your conception of meaning ceases to be objective and becomes subjective. To practice non-attachment is therefore to practice objectivity, to cultivate rationality, and ultimately to apply the scientific method to your own life.